6 KCCFC teenage players have been summoned on the provisional 38-man squad for the men's national under-20 team. We also speak to a player that last kicked a ball last year in January 2020. For KCCFC, he will be telling us his rehabilitation journey and how he's been able to recover from his injury. We also speak to a club legend, Wilber Musika. On the show tonight, it is Season 2, Episode 8 of the KCCFC TV show. My name is Magero Mwanje. You and I are walking this journey together. Now, speaking about the club news from KCCFC, this week, 4 of our players were part of that Uganda Cranes team that played against Rwanda in the CHAN 2020 tournament that is in Cameroon. And the 3 players, the captain of KCCFC, Charles Lukwago, was between the sticks on that day, and he kept a clean sheet in that game because the game ended 0-0. And then Brighton Ukandi played the entire first half and was substituted off just after the first half. Then we had the forward, the top scorer of the Uganda Premier League season so far, with 7 goals in 5 games. Brian Aheebwa came on as a substitute for Milton Kalisa, who got injured in that game. And an unused substitute, that is Denis, Iguma, a defender at the football club. Uganda during that game against Rwanda, the first game of Uganda in this year's CHAN tournament. So we keep wishing them the very best of luck, and we know they're going to represent Uganda. These players still play the game this week against Togo, and they will play the coming week. They will play against Morocco in the final game, final group stage game. So we keep wishing them all the very best, and may they fly the flag of KCCFC higher and also the banner of Uganda highest. Now, still speaking about the club news from KCCFC, this week 6 teenage players were summoned on the 38-man squad that will represent Uganda in the Under-20 AFCON tournament. That will happen in Mauritania this year, and that is from the 12th of February up until March 2021. Among the 38-man squad are 6 KCCFC players, and these are 4 of them were part of that Uganda Cranes squad that played in the Sekafa Under-20 tournament. That also doubled as the AFCON zonal qualifiers last year. That was December 2020. And they were managed by the assistant manager at KCCFC, who is Mwanje. So he's still the manager for this team. We'll call him the head coach. 4 of those players, that is Musa Ramadan, a graduate from the KCCFC Soccer Academy, was that captain for that team that had the Sadata Nakus, the Chizabu Kenyas. If you remember that team for KCCFC in the 2018-2019 FIFA Juniors League season. So he's part of that squad, and he also played in the Sekafa Zonal qualifiers. The other player is Chizabu Kenya. Recently played his debut for KCCFC in the CAF Confederations Cup that was against AS Kigali. KCCFC winning that one 3-1, but not qualifying to the next round. So he also scored, that was against Burundi in the AFCON zonal qualifier, still in Tanzania last year. So he still makes his squad. Another player is Kafumbe Joseph. He had some time, had some game time in the AFCON zonal qualifiers last year, still in Tanzania. So he still makes his squad. The other player is Serada Steven. He's also a graduate from the KCCFC Soccer Academy and also still part of his squad. He was an integral part of Mwanje squad that won the Sekafa Under-20 tournament last year. That is December 2020 in Tanzania. So he still makes his squad. The other player is Kaweya Andrew, was part of the provisional squad but did not make the final squad. So he has got some experience, you could say, because he's played for the Under-17 national team before he joined KCCFC. And he's also part of the 30-man KCCFC squad for the 2020-2021 season. So you get to think that if he really impresses the coach, maybe this time he'll make the final squad. The other player is Senyonjo Samuel, making it the 6th KCCFC player. He's the 2nd top scorer for the that is for KCCFC in the Uganda Premier League for the 2020-2021 season. He has got 5 goals so far in 5 games. He scored a hat-trick against Oduparaka Football Club. He scored in the first game for KCCFC this season. That was against Bright Stars away in Kavumba. He scored also against Mbara City. And he missed scoring, that is against Villa and URA Football Club. So you get to think the teenager has got some, good stuff coming from him, because he also scored on his debut for KCCFC last season in the 2019-2020 season. That was against Chetube Football Club. So top stuff for this footballer, because you're a teenager, you get to think the club has probably players that are more experienced than you, but then you get into a squad and you fit in quite well, score on your debut, and then in your second season at the football club, in 5 games you have 5 goals. So top stuff for these guys, all the 6 players. We wish them the very best. They'll be playing in Mauritania, and we hope all the 6 can make the final squad. That tournament, just like I said, will be running from the 12th of February up until the 4th of March. That's when the final will happen in 2021. So all the best to the 6 players. They are camping at the Cranes Paradise Hotel in Chisasi. That's where KCCFC camped ahead of the CAF Confederations Cup game that we played against AS Kigali. That is about 2 weeks ago. So all the best to the 6 players, and please represent KCCFC quite very well. Now, still speaking about KCCFC, the players returned this week to, the usual training program, because remember the KCCFC took a break. That was on Wednesday last week ahead of the national elections that were happening in Uganda. So the team was not training from Wednesday up until Sunday. So Monday this week, the team returned to training, and all the players are back. Even the players that had got COVID some time ago, and then they missed the CAF Confederations Cup games. All the players are back, and you get to feel that there is that sense of excitement in the squad. Definitely the club lacks 10 players, because 4 of them are in Cameroon playing that Chan tournament, and 6 of them are in camp in Chisasi with the under-20 squad, plus the assistant manager is not around. So 10 players, and one of the managers is not around. But you get to think the 20 available players, because we registered a squad of 30 players this season. So the available 20 that have remained at the football club will be able to represent the football club quite well. And they are really preparing ahead of the resume of the Uganda Premier League that will happen next month in February. So I happen to have watched the training sessions this week, and you see the players really want to fight, especially those that have been out for some time. They really want to fight and get back in the squad and get back in the plans of the manager. And then also, among the 20 is one player who is undergoing his rehabilitation. But we also hope that he will be able to, kick a ball again this season, because if you get to see where he started his rehabilitation and where he is right now, you see there's some little bit of progress. So, that's all about KCCFC club news this week. Players are back training, the 20 available, and we know when the Uganda Premier League starts, they'll really be ready to get that 14th Uganda Premier League title this season. Now, for the fan zone segment this week, we caught up with the KCCFC fans and asked them what do they think of that venture to start constructing, that is the MTN Omondi Stadium. Remember, KCCFC handed over the site to the contractor that will be constructing the first phase of this stadium, that is Surgeon Construction. That was last week. And they are just in preparations to, demolish that entire VIP section. If you know the MTN Omondi Stadium quite well, the place where we have the dressing rooms, where we have the parking, up until the fence next to Legends Rugby Club. So that is the entire VIP section. It will be brought down by Surgeon Construction. So we asked the fans that, what do they think about this venture, KCCFC constructing the stadium, that is MTN Omondi Stadium. Remember, the club is 58 years old, but has never had, a very proper structure, a modern facility, we should say. So we caught up with the fans, asked them about that. Then we also asked them, do they think this new venture of stadium development will be able to increase the fan base at KCCFC? This is what the fans had to say when we caught up with them. Have a look.
Samuel Daniel Grace, ndi muwagizi wa KCCFC. Mbeera Kawempe.
Amanya gange nze Kaoya Bashir, nga ndi muwagizi wa KCCFC. Ngamba Kitintale mu division ye Nakawa.
My name is Nagenda Joshua, resident of Chira, proud member and fan of KCCFC for the last 10 or so years.
Ndi musanyufu nnyo olw'okuba ekisuubizo kye batusuubizanga bamaze ne bakituukiriza, abagenda tuzimbira ekisaawe, naffe tubeere basanyufu. Nzijukira kuva buto, mbadde muwagizi wa KCC, nga batusuubiza tuzimbira ekisaawe, naye nga ekisaawe tetukiraba.
Abantu babeera eyo, abawagizi ba kirabu endala bagamba temulina kisaawe, musambira mu luggya. Naye kati kyova olaba ndi musanyufu nnyo, tugenda kuzimba ekisaawe, abamu badde bajja nga sijja genda Lugogo, enkuba weetonnya temulinayo mweggama. Akasana kaaka, abasinga ne basigalayo. Kirabu awe batalina weefuniramu nga abagizi bakoze eki, basigaddeyo ewaabwe.
Ne wetubeera ku social media eyo batujerega temuyina kisaawe ate nga ffe ttiimu yesinga amaanyi mu East Africa kubanga ekikopo kya Sekafa fa bakirina. Bw'okyalako tugeze tusambye kafu ne tukyalako eyo mu mawanga g'Abawarabu ttiimu ez'amaanyi zirina ebisaawe ng'oziraba zaamalawo ebbanga ddene. Ffe kiba kiswaza nnyo KCCA FC yatandika mu gyenkaaga okuba nga terina kisaawe.
If you look at developing brands and you're talking about football, you need a stadium that sits a minimum capacity that meets the CAF guidelines, that meets standard guidelines on the continent. KCCA is a constant fixture on the continent, whether Confederations Cup, whether CAF Champions League. So you don't want to be hosting games year in, year out at a rival's ground. So it's a step in the right direction.
Kigenda tuyamba okwongera ku bawagizi mu kisaawe.
People do not have to worry about in case it rains, in case it's too much sun, in case I'm taking my child, what happens. So you have a place that can absorb a lot of people.
N'olumu abantu basigala wabweru ng'akasaawe kano nga we kabadde katono, abalala basigala wabweru naddala nga tusamba emipiira eminene egya kaafu, abamu nga tebasobola kuyingira ng'ekisaawe kikoze kiba kijjudde.
So yes, you have a ground that will have even the less affiliate but passionate coming in and saying, you know what, let me spare a day or two, or let me book into this calendar my fixture and go down to Lugogo. We're well blessed that Lugogo is in the outskirts of the city center, so access is quite easy.
Kijja tuyambira ddala nnyo okwongeza ku bawagizi. Olw'ensonga nti abawagizi abamu bajja olaba emipiira eminene ng'omusana mungi oluusi enkuba etonnya abawagizi ne batajja ate nga abandize ne batuwa ku kasente akawera. So we banaatuzimbira ekisaawe kijja tuyambira ddala nnyo. Anzijukira ku mupiira gwa Esto Atohoa. Enkuba yatonnya nnyo naye ng'ate abawagizi baliwo, abamu ne badduka, abamu batya n'okujja wano eno olw'obudde, olw'embeera y'obudde okukyuka. So banaatuzimbira ekisaawe kijja tuyambira ddala nnyo. Abawagizi bajja kweyongera naddala, abawagizi abakyala bajja kweyongera nnyo.
Apart from the stadium construction, other ways that the club can increase on its fan base is have open training sessions. These are sessions I think that we're well familiar with in the football industry, where fans are invited just to watch 30 to 1 hour sessions. And number two is have more social outreach. That's done by the actual players taking part, not management, not the board, but the actual players, because these are people the fans resonate with most. So let me say you're going through Ramadan, and Musa, Ramadan or Gift Ali are the ones giving out these bouquets to the Muslim community or anyone else. So that attracts those that were silent supporters and actually have a little bit of migration from other clubs to here. And that spreads across even the border.
Kilabu inokola charity eina okutambula eina okwata abazanyi ne batambula ne bagaba mu bantu nga mu malwaliro ne bagaba abantu abo malwaliro bagamba kilabu ene tujjukidde naffe basobola tukola ki otujjukira. Ekirala kilabu inokola player access nga bakkiriza abawagizi okujja ku kisene ne beekubya ebifaananyi n'abasambi baabwe be baagala ku mutima. Atugeze yinza okufunayo olunaku tugeze nga mu mwezi efuna Mande esembeyo negamba eno y'abawagizi kujja kwekubya ebifaananyi n'abasambi. Abawagizi bajja kweyongera nnyo.
Yandibadde egendanga mu masomero ago kuba wali erigi nga bakkirizaamu abawagizi abaana ba kasitogira mu uniform ne ID y'essomero abaana badde babakkiriza ne balaba omupiira ku bwereere. Ate abaana bava mu ssomero ne bana bakuze nga tebali mu ssomero aba asobola okukwata ssente ze mu nsawo n'ateeka mu kilabu okujja olaba omupiira nga kilabu emuli ku mutima kuba yagiwagira okuva nga akyali muto paka waakulidde.
Well, you've heard it from the fans, some of the fans coming up to say that, one of the ways to increase the fan base at KCCFC will be after that stadium is developed into a modern facility, a state-of-the-art structure, just like the Lord Mayor likes saying, we'll be able to, just pulled many of the teenagers and many of the young fans out there, because people really like good things. And the fact that the MTN Omondi Stadium is located in the middle of the city, it's quite accessible. Fans also saying that let's also venture into getting into these various schools around Lugogo, that is Kololo, SS, City High, and making sure we recruit those young fans. So top class from the KCCA FC fans that participated in the fan zone segment this week will be having the fan zone roll on even for the coming weeks, because this is a segment that is for the fans, and they say everything as they want to say, so long as they don't get vulgar on that segment. So we are going to be going to a break, and when we return, we have a guest on the show tonight, a footballer at KCCA FC, joined the club in 2019 and last kicked a ball in January 2020. Why did he last kick a ball in January 2020, and also how is he undergoing his rehabilitation, plus also his recovery procedure? He will be telling us all this and a lot more about his football career after this break. Now welcome back from that break, and just like I told you, we have a guest for the show tonight, and this is a player that last kicked a ball for KCCA FC on the 31st of January 2020, and that was in the game that had URA Football Club win 2-1 against KCCA FC away in Deje. What happened, and how has he been able to roll on from then up to now? He'll be telling us all this, his football journey, but first we'll have him introduce himself, and then we take it on from there. Sir.
I'm Revita John, a defender at KCCA FC.
Wow, John, it's been about 2 years since you joined KCCA FC. That was in 2019, August. First of all, how has the journey been?
At first, it was frustrating because I was getting used to having many games, playing many games. But when I got injured, at first I thought that this is the end, but I picked up myself and said I can do it again. So I decided to go for the surgery so that I can get better and start doing the rehab so that I can play again the game of football.
Then you got injured. That was around January 2020 last year. You had played a couple of games. You had won the Sekafa with the national team in December. I should say you were in a form of your life because winning with the national team, that's the Sekafa, and then getting injured a month later, that is in January, when you thought KCCA FC was trying to chase and get the Uganda Premier League title, the 14th title. So you got injured. What happened after?
Like when I got injured, at first the doctor thought it was not serious. So I resumed training. But when I resumed training, then I got injured again. The pain was too much. The doctor told me we go for an MRI. When the MRI came back, it looked bad because I had like a 3rd grade tear. So they suggested that I have to do a surgery. At first, I was scared because I've never had any surgery on me. But then I decided, let me do it so that I can get better. That's how from the surgery. When I had the surgery, there is that rehab. They told me to rest for 2 weeks without doing anything. After the 2 weeks, we went for the review. Then they upgraded to start folding the leg because I couldn't walk. And when I started folding the leg, that was like for 2 weeks doing some exercises. Then 1 month passed, the 2nd month, then I started walking using crutches. So I walked with crutches while trying to fold the leg. Then there was progress because at first I couldn't, but I could now fold. From that stage, I left the crutches. I could walk on my own without any support. So that's where it has been, how it started, now up to where I am.
The person watching the show out there could ask that Revita got injured on the 31st of January 2020. It's now a year. How come he hasn't recovered yet? How long does an ACL injury get? Did you have the surgery immediately after you got injured, or it took some time, and why?
I didn't have the surgery immediately. I don't know what reasons stopped it, but I had the surgery in June 8th, that's when I remember. In June, that's when I had the surgery. But the doctors told me, having an ACL injury, you have to take time. You don't have to rush it. Even though you're feeling fine, you don't have to rush the injury because you might get injured again. So they told me you have to give it time, like rest while you're doing the rehab. Because then the doctor explained again and told me most of the time when you get that surgery, if you're playing at 100%, that percentage reduces. You might be like at 95 or 90. That's why he suggested that I rest. Like if I'm to take like 1 year or 1 year and 3 months, that would be good. That I would play the game very well, so I wouldn't be worried with that, but I had to give it time.
Okay, then you had your surgery done, the rehabilitation period. How tough is this period? Because the few people I've talked to have told me this is really a lonely time. How have you been able to go through it, and how tough is this period?
It's true, it's a lonely time. Only that you have to have that strong mindset. You have to follow your targets. That's what pushed me to do everything they told me in time. Only that then there came this COVID pandemic, so it hindered me a little bit because we wouldn't travel. At that time I was having the rehab. I wouldn't go anywhere. I had to do the training at my place. I did it, but then as I was progressing, then they closed. I couldn't go to have a review because usually when you're doing your rehab, you go back to see, the doctor tells you now you're progressing or you're still haven't progressed. So at that time I couldn't go. I missed like 3 reviews. But eventually I kept pushing myself with the help of the doctors of KCCA FC. We managed to do everything. And as of right now, I can try running, which gives me happiness. Because if you can try running, if you can run, then it shows that you're having progress in what you're doing.
Now, John, among the things that you have missed during this period has been the CHAN tournament that is happening right now in Cameroon. You are part of the team that qualified Uganda to this tournament. You've not been able to take part in it. You are not able to help the club push for the 14th Uganda Premier League title last year. Even at the beginning of the season, you've not been able to play the game of football. And now again, you're yet to play a CAF game for the football club. Is there that one game, or is there probably how you feel that probably if I was on the pitch, I would have been able to help my team probably achieve this and this? Probably what game is that, or what tournament would that be?
First of all, it was a hard blow for me because I had prepared myself for the CHAN tournament and the games for the club, the KCCA FC Football Club. What I know, if I'm in the pitch, I have to do my best to help the team or the country. So it doesn't matter which game or the national team or KCCA FC, as long as I'm available, I'm in the pitch, I do my best. So it was very hard for me when I got injured, when they told me you have to be off for some time. Then when I thought about the CHAN tournament, because that's like where any player can market himself, it was very hard for me, but that's life. You have to push on to see what you can do next in the future.
John, now, I mean, all that said and done, it's the 7th month, getting into the 8th month since you had the surgery. What is next? How are you planning to bounce back from this? One, do you still have hope that you play football again? What do you want to achieve with the football club and also the national team going forward? Because, first of all, do you still have hope that you'll play football again?
Yes, I do. I have hope, and I believe I'll play again the game of football. And I know I'll do my best to win trophies for the club and the country. Because in a tournament, I don't have that there's this tournament. In any tournament that I'll be in with Uganda Cranes, I'll do my best to win, because those are my targets, to win any trophy for the country and the club. So
now the club has been able to post some of your pictures and videos while you're doing your rehabilitation, and the feedback from the fans out there, the various stakeholders, and also the fans of the Uganda Cranes, they say Revita has gained a lot of weight. Is it because of the injury? Is it because that you've not been participating probably in active sport? And also, it's good for you because you've been a slim player, very stylish with the ball, and people are like, he's a very good defender, but maybe, do you think probably the size will help, or are you planning to chop and get back to your size? About your physique right now?
I know, I've also noticed and I've gained weight, but it's because of that long layoff. Because they told me when I had the surgery, I had not to do anything, like almost for 3 months without doing anything. That's when I gained the weight. So when I started doing the exercises, they weren't that strong that you can do to reduce your weight. So that's why I gained this weight. But also I've had most of the coaches, they usually tell me you have to add on your body weight. Yes, I've added, but have to reduce a bit. Usually as players, there's that weight that you usually perform very well on that weight. You can't be playing, usually the league, the seasons you've been playing, you're on 75, and then you gain like you're on 85, then you think you can play the same way. No, unless you can manage your body weight. But I have to reduce my body weight, then I can tone it to get that perfect body to play the game.
So John, in your final words, you're going to look into that camera and tell the youngster out there who thinks that when you get injured, it's the end of the world. Very many athletes I've interacted with got even minor injuries, not like the ACL that you got, but when you talk to them, they say it's the end for me, and most of them did not even attain, a very good level of education. You've been able to go to school and attain a degree, so you're going to look into that camera and one, tell the youngster, tell the footballer out there, tell the boxer, the athlete out there, and tell him that you can play football and also attain education at the same time, balancing both, and also giving them hope that you can get injured and also get back to playing whatever sport you're playing in that camera.
To the players out there, I know most of you fear to have a surgery when you're injured. I know you hear words, some of your friends get injured and they're scared. But what I want to tell you, I know there are facilities in Uganda where they can treat you, where you can have a surgery and get better and follow the rehab, and you play again the game. So you shouldn't be scared of what people say or what they tell you that you will stop playing soccer. No, you can play again. The good example is me, and I know I'm going to play again the game of football. To the young generation out there, I know most of you think it's hard to play football while you're studying. It's not. Even though it's hard, you have to do it because there is life after football. Football is like for, let's say, 15 years. If you've played it very well without injury, without those strong injuries that can take you out of football. But if you can manage to play football, you have to also study. Because most of the time here in Uganda, most of the senior players that we have seen, they played football, but when you ask what they did after football, they can't explain it. But what I want to tell you, study. If you're playing football, play, but while you're studying, and study to get a better future after football.
Top class stuff from John Revita, shirt number 5 for KCCA FC, also a player for the Uganda Cranes. Top class interview, I should say, from him. He's a player that is quite positive. He knows he got injured, just like any athlete, just like in any sport. A player can get injured, or a sportsman can get injured, but he's quite positive that he's going to get back to the field and play the game of football once again, and he will be able to represent KCCA FC and also the Uganda Cranes. He has goals, he has things he wants to achieve, and he also calls on to very many athletes out there who think you cannot balance sport and education, saying that you need to think twice on that, because one, any sports career has got about 15 years. That's if you've not gotten injured and had very many things in your way. And then after then, what happens? We have had very many sportsmen that have played for Uganda, but have not been able to do anything after because they did not prepare for life after sport. So he's a learned fella, and he speaks out of experience because he knows all these kind of things. And he also tells you that you can recover from that injury and be able to play once again. He recently extended his contract with KCCA FC. Remember, his contract would have run out at the end of the 2020-2021 season, but he will still be with KCCA FC for another 2 years. That is until August 2023. So top class from John Revita, and we'll be having more of these players on the KCCFC TV show. And also, even when he gets back to play the game of football, we shall have another interview from him just for a follow-up for this one. So we're going to be going to a break. Now, welcome back from that break. And just like we told you, we have another interview, but this one is with a club legend, not a current footballer. He used to don shirt number 12 at KCCFC. He joined when he was still a player that was at Kolo SS. He was a forward player, but when he came to KCCFC, one of his, interesting stories is that when the life captain of KCCFC, Charles Baker Masco, got injured, he was told to sit in the left back position. And just like they say, the rest is history. He played 10 years for KCCFC. He captained the club in some of the games they played, and also some of the trophies and competitions they won. And he also played for the Uganda Cranes. He's a land feather because he has a degree, he has a master's, and he has a PhD. He achieved all this, some during his playing career, some after, and then even right now, he's a doctor. Call him Dr. Wilber.
Well, thank you, Moses, and thanks for having me out here. I grew around this area here. Ndi mwana wa Lugogo one. Nakulira wali Naguru police. My father was an inspector, a CID in police. And Lugogo was close at me, so I used to often come around here and watch KCC practices. And also, we had another team called Sawambaya here. It was a dominantly home team for all the youth around. So I'm from Naguru here, I grew up from here, and it's not by coincidence that I played for KCC. I loved KCC style. I loved the players, the coaches. I endured everything I saw out here, especially the likes of Jackson Mwanje. Eventually he became my coach at Kolo SS, but I loved the way he played, and some people like Angelo Ronyes and whoever, they inspired me into the game. So I'm a kid of around here, and I grew up from Naguru. I went to Naguru Katali Primary School. It's just across the hill from here. And from there I joined Chambogo SS. And in around senior 2, I think Jackson Mwanje recruited me to Kolo SS. So I joined Kolo SS after that, and I played all the way through to senior 6. I was captain for Kolo SS all that long, and won a lot of trophies with them. I was a bona fide student. And from there I crossed to Nakawa Waliku Moobs. Yeah, so nasome Moobs out, then nefuna scholarship ogenda mu America. So nafuka transfer student kwa samala ku Moobs. Nali nkoze the first year, ne second year and all. Then nefuna opportunity Mujibu Kasule kati owninga gundi pro line. Yeah, for invitation here Uganda university mu US. So to America, nkoze bachelor's yange nenjimaliriza. I also did my master's in accounting, and I also went ahead and did my PhD in business administration. I just finished that about a year ago, and I'm glad I'm here. I would like to say hello to all KCC fans, people that I've not seen for long times. This is original Wilber Musika. These are my former fields out here. Let me use this opportunity to say hi to everybody that I cannot get in touch with, and say hi. Thank you. Moses, I started playing soccer at probably about 5-6 years. Rolling the smaller, we used to burn them. Around 5-6 years, and then I never stopped. I was the team captain for my smaller group in Tinda Barracks, and usually we organize groups in Nabanabe Naguru and Tuzanya. Then from there I went to play for the primary school in Naguru Katali. I was the captain for the team too as well. I remember we won some regional Kampala district trophy by then, before I graduated from primary school. And coming into KCC, I had my sister. She passed on some time back. She was a friend to Coach Paul Juma. That's around 1989-90. And I was just in my primary 7 vacation. So my sister told Paul Juma, was the coach by then, I have this small brother of mine, he plays soccer. Why can't you try him out? So Paul told my sister, bring him out, So I came for practice. When I came to meet Paul Juma, Oma just laughed at me. Agamba. I mean, I don't know what he was expecting, but I was just a primary 7, vacationist, trying to come to KCC. That feeling is different, So I came out here, so I stayed around 1990. I stayed around 1991, 92, for maybe another 3-4 years. KCC got interested in me eventually. But initially I was just a supporting player. And then Studemi Jozi, Zenjoliza, Bagundi, Mayanja, Sam Simba, Ngato, Ibisawo, and then because Nabion. But one game became a game changer in my life during the post-primaries in 1992. Bidandi Sali was on that game. It was the Coca-Cola event that usually happens. And we were semi-finals. We had Coleses player. Coleses was playing against Chibudi SS. By then, Chibudi was a giant around Simanyo Nikati Echari. So Mr. Adikumo Pirogo, Nabuza, Banayo, see Mwana training and a fair go. Which never Yamugamba, you Wilber. Nagamba, the license here, Namugamba Ned. So the next day, KCC looks for me and said, we're trying to sign you up. Just like that, in 1993. And from my understanding, they also wanted me to sign the CAF license by then because KCC had guzanya nenkana Red Devils. Ku Saturday weekend yedako, kati Mr. Ngayagala nsamba omupiira gwali guddako. Naye nadduka emisinde sala bikadako. Dali si uliamba ndi Red okusamba. Bangamba bakunoonya bagala ku signing the CAF license usaba omupiira gwa kana Red Devils. Nabula nagende wa mama eyo namale week says. Ngenda okudda omupiira gwawedde. Ndagamba obaddewa. Kana bayde wa mama tukunoonyeze ebbanga lino lyonna. So I went andikira the bampa license eventually ya KCC student license. Then I featuring from 93 in those. And I played all the way through to 2001 when I won Ogenda mu America. Featuring both for KCC, featuring for the U23, featuring for the national team because just months after ndana kuzanya KCC wano bamtende ku timu y'eggwanga nitandika sasa mbirawo match ya soka nezo ndako zonna nali consistently paka mu 2001 ikolo twalina the likes of me Mole Byekwaso, Ronald Kasigazi yali yazanyira mu Vida, goalkeeper Livington Chove naye yakwalira ko national team sometime, omugenzi Friday Senyonjo ali mu Express yeyo naye ali Coleses, waliwo abana b'enagulu wano ba Opoka David, waliwo Christopher Okwanyi n'abala bangi ababusi bajjukira bulungi manya, but those are some of the prominent ones twalina Coleses. Twawangula Coca-Cola ndowooza oba yali ya 92 or 93 sijjukira bulungi ye twatwala ekikopo kya Kampala I think several times, Kampala district that twafunanga tournament eventually nga beera Muzirubiri, Kololo, Kibuli, Lubaga, Zanyezo, kati mini tournament ako twakatwala akagundi aka Kampala mwe bajjanga timu ezigenda mu Coca-Cola esooka esatu ze batwala mu Coca-Cola gundi tournament. So I think ibikopo ebisinga byo twagenda Nakawa twatwala university gundi, university trophy bikatwagitwala oba yali ya 98 twatwala twaliko n'amasasi mangi nzuka olina njogera naye Diga nanzijukiza ebikonde byali Nakawa twatuzanya ne Makerere ompira polisi yaguyimiriza naye eventually twagudda me twabagoba etwala ekikopo ekyo nzinjukira bulungi noza ebikopo bisinga byebyo ya State Council wano State Council sibanko namba 3 nedda okudda mu namba 3 Charles yafunamu obuzibuzibu ne Vivi ate nga nange wendi awo, so mune bangamba genda obeereko mu namba 3 ate ali defendinga Sam Simba ebiseera ebyo musanvu yenzibu kati nga ne mu defendinga bulungi nga nfuna confidence eyo mu training just mu training nga nfuna confidence eyo which ne gwa nga defendinga Simba atandika okumpa wano training ne friendly zimu kati waliwo omupiira ku KCCA gena kuzanya Villa weekend masiko irange Vivi likyakolaki ali kyamutabula nzukira yali Uganda Cup Finals oba yali Regular League sijjukira bulungi kati nga bakochi bagamba nsambe Naye abazanyi abamu nabo nga bagamba nedda Wilber tannakola ki tannatuuka Masiko bamuteekeyo ajja kukola ki bamukuba ekidagala oba ekiyisaako lekyayimirireyo kiraba so kyavaamu ne batanzikiriza kuzanya mupiira ogwo ne banteeka ku bench saagusamba naye ogwaddako oba gwali tuzanya ttiimu ki kwe natandikira kwennyini ebibiri Amasiko likoze liganye etaaga okuwummulamu so nandika okusamba saaviirawo ddala paka paka mu national team nazaye mpira ndoza emirala ng'esatu wena ne bamuta ku national team paka wena vaano mu 2021 mbu okutandika kwange wano mu State Council kwaggulirawo abaana bangi abali okutandika kuzannya omupiira ku myaka egyo kubanze nali neerabiikirira mu ba Jackson Mayanja baani naye ate waliwo abaana balala bangi abatunuulira nze oyo atuuka atyawo naffe katugezewo okubeera awo kuba n'abaali bwe batyawo okuteekayo amaaso ga nsobola kuzannyira State Council nabo baafuna essuubi mbuki Wilber wabeerawo naffe tujja kusobola okubeerawo oba ku ttiimu endala etali State Council yonna so nava ku gundi natandika okutraininga wano nga ndi mu vacation y'ekyomusanvu then nenkulira wano endoza emyaka emirala ng'esatu nga sina license ebiseera bimu nabeeranga tempted ogamba kanveewo ngende ngezeeko awalala naye oluvannyuma era nina ekinsika nensikola ki nensigala wano okiraba so nentandika okuzannya wano nali nzannya 11 nga nzannya namba 6 nga nzannya namba 8 eyo nga gyensamba naye nali midfielder sibanko defender ali awo paka wengambye Masiko yafuna obuzibu wano ne vivi kwe kunteeka mu namba 3 wenatandikira awo kati era ebiseera bisinga nga kudefendinga kumpa obuzibu kugamba baali bamanye nnyo nga bayinza okukitwala nga advantage saali defender mulungi nnyo kale amaanyi gange gaali mugenda mu maaso so nze nga nkuforcinga on defending nga njagala gwoba on defending eba kipa sali agenda okukwata wali mu ggoolo eba Sadiki nze naguddewo then nze ntandika kusalira eri mabega njagala gwoba on defending ge gaali amaanyi gange kati obuzibu enafunanga ne bagundi ba strikers abasinga ba strikers batanzikiriza kola kyenjagala ekyo nga busawo yagala kunzirusawo yagala nze nku defending oyimirira mu line nga wenafunanga obuzibu nabo naye nga njagala always kuforcinga nze ekyange kyekiba kikola kubona ndimanyi obuzibu bwange sadi defender mulungi era genda mbiyiga mpola nenjinga okupivotinga okutema abantu endobo ebiseera ebimu nali sibibayi byonna ebyo nabiyigira mu kifo ekyo so wano ku State Council wali abazanyi bangi abagenda nga badda simanyi bagendako mu ttiimu endala naye nga nze nakulira wano bwendi kuba wenajjira abakipa mwalimu Brian Daira mwalimu Ibrahim Kongo waliwo Sadiku Wasi abo badefender bangi ba David Kavule ba Fred Batamale ba Derek Muyanja Senyange French Kati ba Senyange Kadidi ba forward mwalimu ba Jalendo walo Frank Yazirawe kali amaliriza Frank yali amaliza waliwo baani baba Mayanja bonna bali wano bagenda bavaavaawo gange nagambye State Council nga ttiimu yakugula oba okozewo season eddako okola ki bakusalako baleeta omuntu owala agenda okukola ki paka ominga ekintu ekyo ttiimu nnene yagala kikopo yakakubeera mu ttiimu esooka ebbiri so always performance was key consistency okubeera mbu buli mupiira gwoba wadde gufaane guli si kubeera kukumira era ate nkya nobeera ku 3 so wenatandikira awo so eventually nira okuzanya mu 93 twala ekikopo ekyansookera ddala yali Uganda Cup kati bagiyitaani Uganda Cup ekyansookera ddala mu 93 twakiwangula wano nzijukira waliwo twalina omukongo gwe twali tusamba bamutanga Ederi Mvambano Ederi yali muzanyi mulungi nnyo gwe nasambanga naye nga nsamba 3 asamba 11 era yanyamba bingi okuyiga nga ngumye ebiseera ebisinga yali musajja Freya naye nga bambi it was so inspirational ndowooza mu bazaire bonna abazanyidde mu Uganda wano ayinza okuba yakabasinga omupiira amuyitanga Ederi Mvambano.
Wow, interesting views from Wilber Musika. He used to don shirt number 12. That has been donned by people before like Chiza Mustafa, right now also playing in the MLS, still in America, where Wilber Musika resides. I told you he played for 10 years. He played with players like Mole Biekwa, so Ronald Kasigas. They all came from Kolo Aces. He was a forward player. Some of his idols are people like Mayanja, a legend at the football club, Diego Maradona. He was a forward player. That's why his idols are forwards. But then he was told to sit in in the left back position when Charles Baker Masiko got injured. And like they say, the rest is history. He played left back for the rest of his career. And that is a club legend. So interesting stuff from him. We know that very many athletes out there watch this show, and you've been able to pick a thing or two. We still insist, please, even when you play the game of football, even when you play sport, kindly plan for that life after sport. Because the career is about 10, 15 years. What happens after? He's a land fella, degree, masters, now he's a doctor. Call him, he has attained a PhD. So top class from Wilber Musika. And pretty much that's it for this week's show, because we had an interview with the current player at KCCA FC who last played the game on the 31st January 2020. It's now getting to a year since he kicked a ball, but because he got an ACL injury in that game between URA Football Club and KCCA FC, John Revita was not able to play football from then. But he has got, some positivity from him, because he knows he'll be able to return and play the game of football again. We told you we have 6 players that have been summoned for the under-20 men's national team and will be participating in that AFCON under-20 in Mauritania. That is in Feb next month. And also the other 4 players that keep flying the flag of KCCA FC higher, and they're in Cameroon, that is in the Chan tournament, Charles Lukwago, Denis Iguma, and Ukani, and Brian Aheebwa. So that's it from this week's show. And we tell you what, episode 9, season 2 will be back next week. My name is Magero Mwanje. Have a good night.